There's a lot of action going on there now. Man, from something so simple, the FD3S really did nothing to make the front of the motor look good. Literally just a bunch of clutter. Mazda, I don't know about you. All right, KMR, welcome back to the channel that's got the brap. So, if you've been following, we have been extremely busy. Not only did we just wrap up SEMA week, always just a ton of work, ton of travel, so great to see our friends, our partners, and often we'll take builds out there. This year we didn't. On top of it, right after that, we now have 7 Stock, the biggest Mazda rotary show in America the weekend after the week of SEMA. So not only are we hustling to get some customer projects done, we also decided it was a good idea to completely redo the engine bay of our show car. Now, there was a lot of reasons for this. We took out the race motor, and that's actually going to a friend. It was a very well-prepped motor and really deserved to be used, and it was just not being used in this car. And then after some discussion, we ended up putting in basically a more stock FD3S motor, and going to a much more OEM and stock water pump pulley alternator and power steering setup. One of the issues I always had with this car was because we focused so much on the show, it really wasn't a great driving experience. Not having power steering, and then also a tiny battery with a lot of electronic load, electric water pumps, all of the telemetry, ECU, it just was overdoing the amperage side. And instead of adding electric power steering, having to upgrade to an aftermarket alternator, which can get expensive, and what we do on the race cars, but I got to thinking, this isn't a race car, this is my fun car, it's my show car, and I can't drive it for all of these reasons. So, going back to a more OEM layout is what we have going on. Now, some of the things we've ran into, water pump clearance basically to the wastegate. I've had to do some modifications. I ended up not wanting to run the OEM power steering mount, so we're making a custom mount out of an old FC3S remote mount power steering bracket. So with some modifications, this one's gonna work on our FD, and still utilizing our twin turbo setup from the show car, dual gates, CX Racing manifold, and leaving all of the ethanol injection and ECU setup. We're still going to remain flex fuel, primarily ethanol, because I think we still are going to... All right, we're back, the camera cut out, but it gave me an opportunity to grab the water pump housing that we've modified. So it's based off the FD3S water pump housing. We ended up cutting the top air pump bracketry off, so we have clearance for our intercooler piping. And we ended up substantially modifying this lower tube to get around the wastegate and allow for belt clearance, because none of this was ever designed with this OEM water pump housing in mind. But we are able to get it in there. It's looking good, and we're going to continue to build all this together. A little less show, but hopefully a lot more go. And with the power of the internet, like time travel, we now have the water pump housing on with water pump, and you can start to see how it's coming together. Really happy with how the hard lines actually fit without any modification. Just had to give them a little pull and bend. And then we're going to be dropping the Haltech water temp sensor in the back of the thermostat area here, which used to be on the pieces that eliminated all of that water pump housing. So we're looking good. Next up, alternator and some coolant lines. I think we're going to get it. So along with the top side, we're cleaning up the bottom side. Got the Haltech O2 sensors in there, searching down some wiring, wastegate dumps. Brakes are looking good, and we're dropping in a new Mishimoto thermostat. Got to keep it cool. So one step closer, we've got some of the plumbing hooked up. We've got to basically tighten up some hose clamps and try to get a belt onto this combination. And we're putting some more water in, making sure everything stays nice and dry as we fill it up. So we've now got the cooling system hooked up. We're going to build some oil pressure. I think it looks pretty good all put together. The new look. A little more OEM. Still twins. So that is about a wrap for now. We're all back together, getting ready for the show. Basically just got to do a little tuning and fire things up. But really happy with the new look and being able to run a factory style water pump alternator setup. Although it's not as showy, I think we will have a better success at going. And then we're also going to work on getting the power steering setup actually properly functioning and positioned. But for right now, we've got alternator, we've got water pump, we've got belts, we've got turbos. It's looking good. We're ready to wrap.